All right. Definitely the last thing we wanted to be discussing was an Ohio State loss. Especially after losing the last 3 years, we definitely had high hopes going into this game. Everyone did. And, I mean, even Vegas thought we were going to win by 3 scores, 3 touchdowns. So we got to discuss what happened. I know it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to sting for a long time. This is probably the worst loss in Ohio State history, I would say, at least in my lifetime and the games that I know of. Definitely probably the worst one. We got to talk about it, though. And before we start, I just want to say to all Michigan fans, if you want to shit talk, by all means, go ahead. You guys earned this. Nothing else to it. I'm not going to stop you. I'm probably not even going to fight back because we just flat out lost. You guys beat us. No excuses. So, by all means, it's encouraged, actually. Go ahead and talk your shit. And Buckeye Nation, I encourage you just to sit back and listen because there's no winning because they beat us. That's what happened. Now let's get into the game. Why I think we lost, what went wrong, the very few things that went right. So we're going to have a little bit of both. And my thoughts on the game, the future, what's to come. Going to be interesting to see what happens. I think we all know what's going to happen. But there's a trickle effect to all of that, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, let's get into the game. Why do we lose? I think it's very simple. Offense, play calling, coaching. That's the game plan that you came out with, that you come up with. You have two geniuses. One of them's your head coach, who's an offensive guru, and then your offensive coordinator, who's a proven great offensive mind. And that's the game plan that you guys came up with? You guys put up 10 fucking points? What? That was just gross to see. I mean, first drive came out, passed the ball, or aggressive, which I loved. And, you walk away with 3 points, still points, and you're able to move the ball down the field. And then it feels like ever since Will Howard threw that first pick, it was just passive. Try to run zone on that Michigan defense, which what fucking genius thought of that, because Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are the best defensive tackles in all of college football. And that is their greatest strength. And you're running to their strengths with a depleted offensive line too. Why? I don't get that. Now, you don't obviously want to abandon the run. You want to keep them honest, but mix in some outside stretches and running outside the tackles instead of running in between the tackles to their strength. Don't understand that. And on the 2 scoring drives that we did have, we passed the ball and it worked, and then we just went away from it. Why? We took 1 deep shot all day to Jeremiah Smith and it worked. Drew a PI off of that. Didn't take any more, and we have arguably the best wide receiving core in the nation. Didn't even use them. Used them in 2 drives. Will Howard didn't have a great game, but I don't obviously put full blame on Will for this game. He threw 2 picks, but I think play calling could have helped, at least on one of them. The other one, that was just a bad throw. The second one was a horrific throw. And just sloppy. I mean, sloppy play. I don't really think Will played a horrible game, though. I think he played good enough to win. And I think we definitely could have put him in better situations to win the game and maybe knock some of those picks off the board. I mean, third down conversions went 6 of 16, which that's been a problem for us all year. And we carried it into this game and didn't improve it at all. So you're not going to win games on converting 6 out of 16 third downs. Not going to happen. So, what else happened here? Only rushed for 77 yards. That was kind of expected, considering how good their front is and how depleted and injury-ridden our offensive line is. That's expected. Michigan did outrun us. However, they are one-dimensional, and I don't put any blame on this game on our defense. I thought they played outstanding all day. They allowed 6 points. Fuck the turnover. That is not on them. They got the ball at the 2. I mean, what do you want our defense to do? Had a lot of stops, had a lot of goal line stops, had 2 picks. One of the picks, we got the ball back at the 15 and didn't do anything with it. Came away with no points. I mean, if you get no yards in that situation, that's a 30-yard field goal. 2 missed field goals on the day. Special teams issue. Our kicker has been an issue for a long time. Still is. Horrific performance. We get into a little bit of positive things, I guess. Defensively, I thought everyone played great. Just great performance all day. Held them to 62 passing yards and 172 rushing yards, but like I said, they are one-dimensional. They had 3.9 yards per pass, and then rushing, they averaged 4 yards on the ground. We averaged 4.3, and then passing, we only averaged 5.3 yards per pass. I mean, where is the deep shots at? You have such amazing talent on the perimeter, and Michigan's secondary is a weakness of theirs, especially without Will Johnson, and we didn't even try to attack deep. Didn't even try to. Tried once, and it worked, and then we went away from it. I don't understand that. I thought defense played a great game. Sawyer had a great game. Caleb Downs had a great game. And I feel bad for Jack, man. Played with fire all day. He showed up, played his ass off, and that's the performance that he gets in return. Got to feel bad for those seniors, man. Feel bad for him, and coaches ruined it for him. I don't remember. I think probably the second worst play called game to this was probably Michigan State in 2015. Oh, I mean, even then they put up 14, but Ed Warner days is what that reminded me of. I don't get it. I think this was probably Ryan Day's last game as a head coach at Ohio State. I've defended him for a while now. There's no defending him anymore. I mean, it's inexcusable. 4 in a row, especially when you bring all your seniors back, go into the transfer portal, and get some of the best players available. I mean, you get Quinshon, you get Seth McLaughlin, you get Will Howard, you get Caleb Downs. Spent $20 million to retain this roster for one goal, to beat Michigan and win the Big Ten. And a 6-5 Michigan team comes in and beats you. Gotta go, man. Time's up. I think probably should get rid of Chip Kelly too. We brought him in to be the offensive guru, and it sure as hell didn't show Saturday. Another thing, the energy. You would expect those guys, considering they've lost 3 years in a row, to have a little bit more juice than what they showed Saturday. There were a handful of guys that played with high energy all day, played pissed off, played with a fire under their ass. Jack Sawyer was one of them. Caleb Downs was one of them. Jeremiah Smith was one of them. Igbinosun, but he's like that every single week. I thought Lathan had it. Pretty much the whole defense, and then a handful of guys on offense. And I was at the game, and in between one of the quarters, both teams went to the sideline, and Michigan's sideline was just fired up. I mean, jumping up and down, yelling. I could hear them, and I was on Ohio State's side. And then I looked down at our guys, just there. That falls back on coaching. How do you not get these guys prepared to play this game? How do you not get them fired up to play this game? I mean, their ultimate goal was to come back and win this game, especially those seniors, and they failed. The game plan was awful. The offense was awful. The play calling was awful. The juice wasn't great. And that falls back on one person, and it's Ryan and Chip Kelly too. Ryan's he's gone, and I mean, you talk about coaching candidates. We're put in a tough situation because there's not a lot of great coaches available right now. I mean, I've seen some people say Urban. That's not happening. I don't want Urban. I think he's been out of the game for too long. I like him, but I just don't think he's a good fit right now. Just because of how long he's been out of the game, I think it's probably passed him by. And to the people that say promote Brian Hartline, he was an OC. People forget that. He was the OC 2 years ago or last year, and he wasn't ready for it. So what makes you think he's going to be a good head coach? He's a great receiver coach, great recruiter, great developer, but that doesn't lay over into being a head coach. I mean, it's just completely different. He could probably fill that role, but not right now. I mean, he's young. He's just not ready for that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the whole coaching situation. And they're going to have their hands full, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. And it's going to be a really, really tough decision with who they go with. And I just don't see a world where Ryan Day survives. I don't. I mean, 4 in a row, you got to go, man. I'm sorry. You got to go. I like the guy. I just don't think he is fit to be the head coach at Ohio State. I think he'll have a job for sure in Power 5 football. A really good coaching job. He'll always have one. But it's just different here because no other program has a rivalry like ours. So, and he just doesn't understand it. I mean, it's proven. You lose 4 in a row and you just don't have an emphasis on this game and you play extremely passive, no aggression at all. Don't play aggressive on offense. Your offensive play calling was passive. He just doesn't understand it. He was playing scared to lose. And you can't do that in this game. So those are my thoughts. Hopefully this helped you guys cope a little bit of a therapy session for all you Buckeyes, and I don't know, the Michigan fans that came in here probably just enjoyed seeing us rant and talk about how sad it was, because it was devastating. The worst loss I've ever witnessed too, and it sucks because I've witnessed both of these losses at home, went to both of these games and watched Michigan just kick our ass and beat the shit out of us. So nothing else really to say. I feel like I covered everything totally, but let me know your guys' thoughts. And who would you want to be the next head coach at Ohio State? I guess. So thoughts on the game, and then who you would want to be the next head coach. That's about it. So it sucks. We got to move forward though, and OH.